everyone. My name is Ambrose Bregg, and welcome to Beyond the Device. In this show, we talk about the different technologies organizations deploy to support their mobile deskless workforce. Today, we're joined by Brian Berry, Director of Enterprise Sales from Scosche. Thank you for being here, Brian.
Thanks, Ambrose. Pleasure to be here.
So tell us a bit about your background in the mobile space.
Absolutely. So I just joined the Scosche team about 4 months ago. Prior to that, I worked at OtterBox for a little over 11 years. And then prior to that, I was at T-Mobile for roughly about 8 years, Samsung for about 3.5 years, and I entered the mobile space working at Sprint back in 1998. So
good old Sprint
for a long time.
Wait, there was the spokesman was Brian, I believe, back then. The trench coat guy?
Was his name Brian?
Was it Brian? I feel like it was.
Something different, but yeah, it was, all those spokespeople, right?
I know. And then the world of when we merged with Nextel and that and the people in the industry like that we come from this world, we all stay.
That's right.
It seems like in the mobile industry, either the channel or OEMs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually been really fun for me as I've kind of come on to the team here of igniting some of those relationships I've had over the years. So it's definitely great to see a lot of familiar faces out in the space.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome to Scosche. Just started well. Can you tell us a bit about how it was founded?
Yeah, absolutely. So Roger Alves and his wife Scosche started the business out of their house, and hence the name Scosche came from Roger's wife. And they started in the automotive audio business as consultants. And so Roger, through his consulting and product development, actually was one of the pioneers in bringing Japanese radios into the American cars back in the early 80s.
Yeah, car audio back then was a big deal. Brick and mortar stores doing car stereo installations, and it was high margin. It was a good time, especially in the 90s too. It was like, back when I was getting my subs in my car and getting them installed, right?
Yeah, it was massive. In fact, Roger created the Audio Sound Encyclopedia, which pretty much became like the main manual that you'd find in just about every installation garage and facility across the United States in '82. So he was a big deal even back then.
So how did it evolve then over the years to get to the point now? What was that like?
Yeah, so obviously the industry went through a tremendous amount of change. Things were pretty steady in the 80s. I think some of the big evolutionary changes were more in cassettes to CDs. But really what kind of changed the industry and really got Scosche on the path of consumer tech was the introduction of the iPod. And in 1991, when the iPod, kind of really exploded on the scene and turned the audio world on its head, Scosche was the first company to come out with a 30-pin FM transmitter that allowed you to connect your iPod to your car stereo and play it through your speakers, which was a really big deal back then, as you could imagine. So,
yeah, that was a huge deal. I remember we were selling those also at when I worked at Best Buy and like Office Max. I think we had those for sale too. So they were really close with the industry in retail, right?
Yeah. So actually, the entry point to retail, which really got them kicked off, was going back to 1995 when CDs kind of were the big thing with the car stereos at the time. They were the ones that created the visor that you put in your car. If you remember that,
all the CDs,
your CDs, you had the multiple CDs. They called that product the sound case, and they actually built a hard version of that. And that's really what kind of got them into the retail environment. So they already, were very heavily involved in the audio installation, and then the creation of those cases is what got them in kind of to the retail environment. And then, as I mentioned before, when the iPod came and flipped the industry on its head, Scosche was out the forefront, came out with that product, and really that's what got them on that path of staying ahead of technology, being in the forefront. And so as those, the trends continued to take place, Scosche was always on the forefront. So they took that retail experience they got from, the CDs and expanding into that world.
Yeah, and they also probably were being in retail. They see more of the trends, and they know that they need to go start to evolve the power line.
That's right.
And the device mounting line.
Yeah, absolutely. And a fast follow to the iPod was the iPhone, and with that brought even more opportunities to expand that accessory channel. And really that's Scosche took advantage of those time frames and got like their MFI license, for example, in 1996, that allowed them to then make aftermarket products for the iPhones, the iPads, and that really exploded as far as consumer tech goes. And those products then made its way into the retail, and that's really how the brand really kind of came to life at that point.
So they have a strong relationship with the device OEMs in order to make sure that the product is compatible with that
absolutely
board inside for the USB-C, right?
Yeah, and that started early on and has continued throughout the years, which has been great because that's allowed us to stay on the forefront as the technology's changed to try and get in front of those trends and the new changes that have occurred.
So brand recognition through consumers. Now the move is building out the enterprise B2B space. What inspired that move?
Yeah, so for the first 45 years of the company, we've been primarily consumer based and focused, and you'll find us in all the major retailers. And really, the opportunity was presenting itself at some of the trade shows we had been attending, where we'd have larger enterprise customers or VARs come up and ask if we did business within the enterprise space. And, it was always no. And so as that kind of feedback started to come in, the company really started to take a look at that and realize that the products that we currently had in market really would translate well into that space as well. And so that's really what that kind of kicked it off. And then last year we participated in the Procore Ground Bake show. And that was where really, customers were coming up and saying, "Oh, we're glad to see you here. Are you coming out with, are you going to enter the space?" And that's kind of that final push that they needed to bring me on. And
well, yeah, I would say like so they identified the need for entering the enterprise space, and they said, "I'm going to get somebody that has been in this industry for a long time, who knows the channel. You're the face of the channel. So when we do have deals, like you're the one that's going to be involved, right?"
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly why they brought me on board, was to grow this side of our business and to, use my experience and knowledge to build it out. So yes, I will be the main contact.
So how do you see, what's the difference in the buying process from the consumer side to the enterprise side? Because the consumer side also, you've had a relationship with brick and mortar, so there's the retail aspect of it. But now, what's that shift look like?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to work on both sides of the business, both the consumer side and the enterprise side in my career so far. And really, the consumer side is pretty structured in relationship to a lot of the changes or resets are based around either iconic phone launches or seasonal shopping periods and resets for the national retailers, for example, carriers that you work with. Whereas B2B is, everyday transactional. There's the seasonality doesn't really exist. It's pretty consistent throughout the year that, you need to be prepared on all kinds of levels to support that business, which requires a different discipline, things like inventory and processes that you need to have in place versus, with the national retail landscape or carrier landscape, it's very structured, and, the peaks and valleys where it's in B2B, it can be,
Right. We've got longer sales cycles sometimes. Sometimes we have, this from your previous company, "Oh, I need 1,000 of these tomorrow" mentality. It's either at the very, very end of the sales cycle.
Yes.
We'd love to be further in front and early on to do samples and things like that. That's
absolutely.
You've witnessed some of those fire drills.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's pretty common in the space. And you need to be ready for that. And that's part of that investment that, the company is willing to make, whether it be in safety stock, business processes. It's just a different way of doing business. So you need to make sure that you're set up and ready for that. And that's also why I was brought on board to help, put that in place. And we're at that spot now and excited to really get things going.
So just to set the stage in the portfolio of Scosche, we're talking device charging solutions and device mounting products. There's some other things in the portfolio is really vast.
Sure.
Every time I look at it, there's something different, but there's power inverter technology. It's all complementing how a device is used out in the wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that Scosche prides itself on is that easy usability. And so when you look at the evolution of our products, it's really, built and designed for getting the most out of those products, right? And so that's where we think there's a natural progression into the enterprise space where we're able to take problems or issues or things that people are trying to solve. And we've kind of had that mindset through our entire, development of our products. And so that's where we see a really natural fit that's what our products do. Very functional, high quality, long lasting.
Now with the devices coming together and saying we're going to be on USB-C 3.0 or 3.1, I think now eventually, and then the Qi 2 wireless.
Yeah,
that's where you guys have really established yourselves in having something that is a high watt wireless and options for charging, not necessarily a phone, but it could charge a laptop too. The different adapters you've got.
So you're absolutely right. The nice thing is, for the consumer space and enterprise space is that, for the most part, a lot of the, the way the industry's gone before, everybody had their own standard. Everybody had their own, some used A ports, some used C ports, but they all seems like kind of converged into similar platforms, which makes it nice for the consumer. And then also for us, we're able to take and use all that history we have of developing these products and taking the expertise that we've already learned to help us get out in front of the new advancements. So by way of example, we were the first to come out with the 25 watt MagSafe charger. So the kind of common standard out there you'll see is about 15 watt, but now that these phones are requiring higher wattage to power them or charge them, the next generation is 25 watt. And, we already have that line that's out there. So always staying out in front of the trends.
So you've got a history of Scosche has a history of having great engineers.
Absolutely.
Probably maybe as a consumer, we're not thinking about what it takes to have that technology in that, like the wireless charging coil in the device and what the magnetic strength needs to be that doesn't interfere with charging.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the differentiators between your brand and others is the 46 years of experience.
Absolutely.
You've been able to learn along the way of like, this is exactly how we need to do this. This is exactly how we need to build it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's one thing that is a big strength of ours is that our in-house engineering and product development team have been with Scosche for many, many years. So as all these projects and technology has changed, they've been with us from day one. So they have all that history to go off of, things that work, things that have not, and has allowed us to stay out in front. And so as these new trends and technology come out to market, we're usually already, thinking about the next one and have gotten that development out early. And so that's really been a big advantage for us.
That's great. Yeah. And then, we've got when a new device launches, we usually see a wave of the base model getting purchased, but there's still the previous model. So having safety stock and inventory, that's like, you're thinking through this for your go-to-market for going into the enterprise channel.
Yes, absolutely. And understanding again that it's a different sales cycle, that there's different requirements, and you need to be ready, like you said, for drop-in orders, as well as, if someone does want a significant amount of units, what exactly does that time frame look like? You got to meet those commitments that you're making. Absolutely.
Yeah, and more of the channel on that, but I want to talk about the actual industries that it's being used in.
Yeah.
When I want to point out that hospitality and healthcare, like front of house,
Yeah.
the portfolio is more stylish looking
Yeah.
than some other manufacturers that are out there for sure. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Somebody to say, like, elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah. So I would say that, we really evolved from a lifestyle type brand of, the folks that work at our company, from our executives to our product development to our marketing, are, really big users of products themselves and come from an active lifestyle. And so I think with that, not only is the usability of the products important, the quality of the products become very important. And quite frankly, the aesthetics also play a role in all that. And so that's naturally progressed in the years that we've been doing this. And so I think you see that, and people have grown to appreciate that about Scosche and like that about Scosche products.
I mean, the device OEMs would appreciate that too, seeing their device on something that is aesthetically looks nice, and maybe that's close to their.
Yes.
They're also branding that they're trying to say,
Absolutely.
This is a nice device. Like, look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, they want theirs to be center stage, which we totally get and appreciate. But absolutely, the aesthetics do play a role in that. But that's just one piece of the many pieces that I think we bring to the table, which is nice. So with us, we're looking for that perfection, not just being good in one specific area, but really the whole complementary part of that product is really important to our.
Yeah, I think so. And then the other industries, like there's rugged lines of more rugged products that are available out there. We've got, but talk about the industries. I'm like thinking transportation, fleet,
healthcare,
warehousing, healthcare, field services, hospitality. Can you give us any specific examples?
Yeah, so definitely within the transportation and fleet management, last mile delivery, our mounts are a very, natural fit within that environment, and along with our power products. So I'd say that's probably our sweet spot, and definitely a spot that we're going to continue to focus on. We're also in the development right now of a 1-inch line that is expected to launch here in the next probably 30 to 45 days.
And that's a 1-inch ball and socket mount.
That's correct. So with that, you'll have a lot of different parts and pieces that you can basically build your own mount, depending on what use case it is. Tons of flexibility with something like that, which will be great for pretty much any and every fleet that's out there.
And that's good for a little bit heavier device too, when you go to the larger size.
Absolutely, that's what it's designed for.
And then you've got, so the two main for mounting I'm seeing is the strong magnet only mounting, and then there's the wireless charge magnet series.
Sure,
I'm getting those right.
Yeah. Definitely, magnets in both the mounts themselves is a trend that you'll see out there. And then of course the magnets within the charging mounts or the heads is a critical component of it. So the nice thing is that we're really experts in both. And I think that's one of the advantages that we have, is that we introduced magnets all the way back in 2014 in our Magic mount that came out at that time, where we took, the technology of GPS combined with the phones, and then magnets, which became part of that ecosystem of our mounting solution. And so we've been working on, that magnetic technology for years. So that puts us in a really good spot as magnets have really kind of surfaced in the space.
Well, William was also talking about in our meeting we had earlier, like, here's the mag mount charger.
Yeah.
But you also need to have the appropriate watt out of your DC or AC, whatever the situation is in the vehicle, or it's not going to give you the faster charge. So having, you're experts at what is needed, or you're packaging it with the appropriate charger too.
That's right. Yeah, we like to really provide the complete solution. So what you'll see a lot of times is folks will just have like the charging head, but not the actual charger to power it. And then what will happen is customers won't get the right wattage for like a home charger or a car charger. So it's not, effectively charging their device. So it's those little things, those little details that make a big difference. And we take the guesswork out of it. We pair all of our products with the full solution. So there's no guesswork. It's done, it's complete, does what it says it's going to do.
Yeah, we've tried the different, our portfolio of case manufacturers on the mag chargers. They're all working fine. Like, it's good that you probably meet in the channel or have relationships with other manufacturers.
Yeah.
Taking down the same deals, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we love to partner with other OEMs, and, we look for those partnerships that make sense, right? And we want to make sure that our products are doing what they say they're going to do as well as our partners want to make sure that's happening as well.
I mean, that's part of working in the channel.
It is.
Too, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a really important part of working in this channel.
So going to the channel again, what would make, if I'm a channel reseller, like what makes me a good partner? What sort of channel partners work well with Scosche or your targets?
Yeah, I would say, anybody that's working tightly with the OEMs, for example, would be a great fit with us. The carriers is another, if you're really carrier centric, as well as the transportation fleet, last mile delivery. And I would say those are probably going to be, those three right there are probably going to be powerhouses for us, that our products and what we do really closely align with what they're doing on their end. I think there's a natural fit there. And then healthcare would be the other one where I think there's a lot of alignment with the products and, options that we have fit really well within those channels. So those would be the ones I think that there's a really strong fit right out of the gate.
Now, you've put a lot of thought into the go-to-market strategy for enterprise B2B. So there is a formal deal reg process, and there is a new business B2B website that will have things broken down in verticals and kind of solutions and based off of specific devices that are being launched.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're still in development of some of that, but ultimately that's, we understand what's needed to be successful in this channel. And so we've got the foundation there, and we're adding and building that out every day, but absolutely is understanding again that the way the enterprise space works, there are certain processes and things that need to be put in place to be successful. And so, we absolutely have that foundation built. We're going to continue to make sure that we're putting the necessary materials together to deal registrations, like you said, to make sure that the partners are successful in selling our products.
Yeah, and also, narrowing the best options of the portfolio, because you have so many options on the site. Like, we'll work to get that narrowed down to be like, here's your hit list of what they're going to need for this device, and to make it easy. We want to make it easier for you to go on the website, look up a device, see what the accessories are. And then lifestyle images of it in use, and use cases, case studies. We'll be doing probably some sales plays stuff. We've been doing actually some sales plays with putting in the mag charger or the battery bank. We've been putting that in some of our plays. We've seen success there. So I think what I'm happy is that the plan is there, and you've already got a lot of the stuff ready to go. So you can feel confident as a channel reseller that this is a line that has been in the industry for a long time. They've got really great engineers, support staff. There's a lot of thought into availability, cost and availability, because like I said, when we have those fire drills, usually at the end of the sales cycle, we need to get stuff ordered, and we need quotes, and I think the hard stuff's over, right?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, the nice thing is everything you just said, that's been 46 years in the development. And so we're not new to the industry. We're not new to the technology. Like, that's not the new part for us. The new part is just going into the channel which, like all those things you just mentioned, is we have a good understanding of what's needed or required to be successful in the channel. So that's the new part. But, our products and what we've done is the backbone of our business. And that's usually the hardest part to get going, as you know. And that's our strength today. So we're really excited about that. And that, puts us in a really good spot.
So you've been on the road.
Yep.
Last time I saw you, you were at HIMSS.
Yep.
We've got you at a couple of our Connected Solution Expo series road shows. And then you mentioned Groundbreak. Now, Groundbreak is that show is put on by a company called Procore. Procore is a software platform that construction companies use to manage projects. And then a lot of other companies have hooks into the software platform. So you're going to be at that show as well.
That's right. Yeah, we went last year. It was a huge success for us. And really, I would say that was kind of the final kind of validation of Scosche entering the enterprise space, because our presence there, the reception was extremely positive. Several partners came up and were thrilled to see us at that show. And when we told them that, we're really considering coming into this space and this channel, it was an overwhelmingly positive reaction. And so that's really what was the final piece to inspire our executive team to go in this direction. So I think this year, with the partnership we have with you guys, it's going to be a completely different experience for us and for the customers that are there, because now we're actually selling in the channel, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was at the show 2 years ago. That was my first time ever going to that. So I had not known about it.
Yeah.
The industry, I would say like that industry, word of mouth is pretty popular with different technology adoptions, I've noticed. And that's a show that people have been going to for, I think it's been around for a while over the years. There was a lot of our mutual partners there too. So I'm excited to be going.
Yeah, we're really excited.
So any advice for the channel resellers on positioning, charging, and mounting solutions? Any trends out there? Anything they need to know?
I think that customization piece is from what we're gathering from the conversations we're having, that's a really big deal. And I think with our launch of the 1-inch line, that's going to provide some other options for these customers to explore. That, coupled with our power products, as I mentioned before, we've got some great solutions. The 25-watt chargers, there's not a lot of those out there in the marketplace today. So for those customers that are looking for that higher wattage, we've got those ready to go. And then something we're really excited about is we are currently in the development of a new ELD mount. And we're hoping to have some prototypes potentially ready to show at Groundbreak, which would be amazing, with a launch in early next year. But despite the current products that we do have that are completely relevant and ready to go, we're also forward-looking and using that experience that we've had over these years and already innovating for other products that we'll be releasing, later this year or into next year. And that's we're going to continue to do that. That's in our DNA. That's what we do. So that is also very exciting for us as we enter the enterprise space, that we really want to look for those pain points that exist out there and provide those enterprise customers with some new solutions or options that maybe they haven't seen yet.
Looking forward to seeing that roadmap.
Yes.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us over the last couple days here in our office. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and see what's possible with 3i and Scosche.